Like all organic gardeners, I like my space to be as diverse as possible. Lots of different plants, herbs, flowers, veg, but also want that wildlife in as well. And I'm quite lucky here because I'm up in the canopy, so it comes in quite naturally, but I still need to encourage it. For that I do bird feeders, bird boxes. I have bee hotels, they're quite active, and also make sure I plant lots of pollen-rich flowers so the bees, and I get a lot of hoverflies can come in and get that nectar. Obviously in a balcony situation, it's very difficult to have any kind of composting regime, but you can manage it, you just need to do it on a smaller scale. So I recommend wormery, that's really important. I think you have to be a bit careful with it. I'm south facing here and it gets very hot and the worms don't like that. Between 15 and 25 degrees is their sort of comfortable temperature. But also a hot box. I can use a hot box from the kitchen scraps mixed with shredded paper from the office. That tends to work quite well. And what I'll do with that is I'll top dress the top of the pots come the autumn time or even late into the winter, just to keep these perennials nice and healthy. Well, I know what a lot of you are thinking. There's probably a lot of weight up here with all these containers, and that's a good point. And obviously, I put all these baskets along the rail here because that's not putting any weight on the roof. Having a bit of decking is quite important because obviously that distributes the weight as well. But the main thing, and I know it's a bit of a nemesis at the moment, is most of my containers are plastic, so they are very light to move around. And I've had these containers for over 20 years now, and a lot of them were rescued off a garden I did at Chelsea, for instance. So you can rescue them as well. And the thing with terracotta is it tends to crack and split and fall apart after a few years, and it's also someone else's topsoil. So in this instance, for weight purposes, plastic containers relieves the weight pressure, and you can see you can put a lot of stuff on one balcony. So what are the difficulties I might have with a balcony garden? Well, obviously the first one is kicking it off, getting everything up here. So maybe if you've got a bit of a bad back or anything, you don't want to be lugging big bags of compost up here. Maybe also take your time, make sure you do it little bit by little bit. There's no rush. The great thing about a balcony garden is you can move it around. And obviously wind is a bit of an issue. Quite windy up here. The wind normally comes from the west. So I've just used a hedging principle really. But instead of a hedge, I've got this lovely Jasminium officinalis, which just smells great this time of year. And that slows the speed of the wind down. As the wind hits the balcony, it slows it down. So have them both ends of the balcony to make sure the wind is reduced. And really, pests, not so much of a problem. Pigeons are the big thing I have a difficulty with. They come for the water that I put out for the other little birds. They can cause a bit of a problem, they make a bit of a mess, but nothing too much. Aphids seem to be controlled by the hoverflies that are up here. I get a little bit of rust, I'll just pick that over, DDD that, pick out the dead, diseased and dying material on the plants. And really, pests are a minimum at this height.